Dr.Sampadananada Mishra, Director, Sri Aurobindo Foundation for Indian Culture, Sri Aurobindo Society, Puducherry. The dignitaries, please occupy the dais. As a token of our joy and honor in having these two experts in our midst, Dr. Jairam, the convener of the seminar from KYM, will offer the floral welcome to Yogacharya Dr.Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani and to Dr.Sampadananada Mishra. I think the topic that we have now is something which is very interesting for the youngsters here, and I only hope that all of them will come in a very short while from now. The topic is the various dimensions of yoga for the youth, and it's very apt that we have Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani to be the expert on this subject, for he is a person who is a blend of medicine as a doctor holding the degree MBBS, and he is also an expert in yoga. And as Professor Sridharan was telling in the morning, practicing yoga is something which is happening only if we have the practitioners in the family, beginning from the parents themselves. It is true in the case of Dr. Bhavanani, as he is the son, I should say. The parents are very blessed, as well as the son is also equally blessed to have such parents. We in a family where we have an internationally acclaimed yoga team of Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Geetanandagiri Guru Maharaj and Yogacharya Kalaimamani Ammaji Srimati Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani. A gold medalist in medical studies, that is MBBS, with postgraduate diplomas in family health and yoga, as well as an advanced diploma in yoga under his illustrious parents. I should say that we cannot have a better person to speak on this topic, the diverse dimensions of yoga for the youth. Sir, on behalf of the organizers, I extend a very hearty welcome to you, and we look forward to your very inspiring talk. And definitely a very hearty welcome to Dr. Sampadananada Mishra, who is also going to be the speaker for the next session. Over to Dr. Ananda Yogi Bhavanani.
ஐந்து கர்த்தனை ஆனை முகத்தனை இந்தின் நிலம் பிழை போலும் மீதினை நந்தி மகந்தனை ஞானக் கொழுந்தினை பொந்தியில் வைத்தடி போற்றுகின்றோமே. யோகேன சித்தஸ்ய பதேன வாசா மலம் சரீரஸ்ய ச வைத்யகேன Yopakarottam pravaram muninam Patanjali Patanjalim Patanjalim Pranjalim Anatosmi Patanjalim Pranjalim Anatosmi Patanjalim Pranjalim Anatosmi Pranjalim Anatosmi. My greetings to the eminent authorities who are here with me this afternoon, authorities of the School of Sanskrit in this college, the wonderful members of my yoga family in the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, the young students who may have doubts about what they have got into by signing up for today's program, and for those of you who knew what you were getting into while you signed up for today's program. My greetings to all of you. The word yoga can be stretched to mean anything and everything we want. It is such a beautiful word. Because it's like the universe. You ask most people, where is the universe? And they say, out there. Is it out there? Our great Siddhas tell us, Andathil ullade pindam, pindathil ullade andam, andamum pindamum onre arinduthaan paarkumpol. Both the macrocosm that is perceived to be out there and the microcosm that is within, the without and the within, are both one and the same when realization dawns upon us. Yoga is so vast that the world today has a multitude of forms of yoga. Sometimes I wonder if they are mutations, but I prefer to be a bit kind and just say different forms of yoga rather than mutations. Yoga is as ancient as this whole universe. When we talk about the Big Bang, we are talking about that moment where Purusha and Prakriti decided to have their play of Leela, and that we all came into existence. And I must remind you, the energy that is there in you, the energy that is there in me, is as old as the energy of that Big Bang. Because energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only change its form. And that is why we keep on coming back again and again and again and again in so many different forms to learn so many lessons until that moment we are ready to escape. You know that escape velocity? The real escape velocity is when we take off into Kaivalya. And we have the greatest of minds, Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim, not just an ordinary Muni, who gave us not only yoga, he gave us medicine for the body, Malam Sharirasya. He gave us that wonderful speech. One of those greatest human beings who has walked this planet. And we today are blessed to walk the same planet as these great men. They are our rishis. They are our ancestors. Today I have been given this topic of the dimensions of yoga. There are multitude of dimensions. And all that I am presenting are a few. Because The great Tamil Mudati Avvayar tells us, Kattrathu kai mannalavu, kalladadu ulagalavu. What you know is that he's in a fist. What you don't know is the whole world. So just a sample. We were talking about samplings and the dangers of sampling. So I'm running on thin ice here. But just a sample of some of the dimensions. And again, they are not exclusive. When it comes to yoga, there's no exclusiveness. Because the principle of iti applies very well in yoga. You can have your point of view, I can have mine, and we both can be right. Just because you are right, it doesn't mean I am wrong, and just because I am right doesn't mean you are wrong. We both can be right. Well, at times we both can be wrong too. Cultural dimension is the first dimension I would like to focus upon. Because in modern times, yoga has been divorced from the culture, the ethos, the spiritual mother principle from which this seed of yoga has grown. Yoga is a priceless treasure of our cultural heritage, and as was being discussed in the presentation before, are we at the risk of the pizza effect is definitely to be contemplated. The great people of yoga, those rishis, not just the Sapta Rishis, each Manvantara had their own Sapta Rishis, so don't just limit to 7 again. Those rishis are our ancestors. Those rishis, every thought they had influenced their genomic expression. You and your thoughts, what you feel influences your genetic expression. Those rishis had such amazing thoughts, their genetic expression carries it, and those same genes run in all of us here today. We are potentially those rishis. And that is why Swami Vivekananda reminded us, every soul is potentially divine, every one. Now, how do you manifest that potentiality? You have to first wake people up. People are sleeping. And you know, we often say, let sleeping dogs lie. It's fine with dogs, but not with human beings. You should wake them up. Because if you don't wake them out, they will not move out of their animal conditioning into a truly human conditioning. They will not be able to go beyond the conditioning into a humane consciousness, that supra-consciousness, super-consciousness, where finally you realize, Andathil ulladai pindam, pindathil ulladai andam. That which lies above is here, and that which lies within is there. The literature, vast literature, our Vedas, Upanishads, I'm going to talk a bit more about that. The fine arts, we all enjoy watching them on television. And I was actually tempted today, because the previous presentations were so good. I said, you know, I cannot speak like that. So maybe I should come and dance on stage so that, you know, I'll get all your attention. Don't worry, the stage I hope is strong enough to bear my weight. I'll do a Ganapati dance, okay? Health is something I'm going to be talking about. Therapeutic aspects which, when you lose your health, you need therapy. So that's why I put it next. The social aspects and that dimension that yoga gives us. The educational, which is more so that the young people know that even through yoga today, you can get degrees, diplomas, up to a PhD, giving you job opportunities that then can enhance the research on yoga into research in yoga. I love that phrase. And we need young people. We need young people like the dynamic people who talked before me. We need people who can think, people who will do. Put the thoughts into your actions. And as I tell the young people, what I think I say, what I say I do. What I think and say I do, an integrated human being I am. Shall we try that? What I think I say. Come on, you're not sleeping. You had a cup of tea. What I think I say. What I say I do. What I think and say I do. An integrated human being I am. Now immediately I had people say, oh, then whatever I think I should say, I'll say all the bad things. What does it mean? Be careful of what runs in here. Be careful of what are you thinking. Because if I know that I have to say and do whatever I think, it will make me responsible about what I think. You know, feedback goes both ways. And this creates integrity. And that integrity, doing that which needs to be done at the right time, for the right person, in the right way, is what being human, that is our dharma, as a manushya. The manav, the manushya, the one who has mind, should know what to do, when to do, how to do, and for whom to do, and in what way to do. And that is what is brought out. And the research angle, they have made my job very easy. That's why I'm cracking a lot of jokes now. Because this part, they have given you many of the findings, and so I just have to, sing a song or two about them. The next slide, please. Since the morning you have heard, what is yoga, what is yoga, what is yoga, what is yoga, and you will say, not again. But I just want to remind you one thing. It is both an art and science. Art is basically primarily your right brain activity. Science is primarily your left brain activity. Now, we think, again, I will give another connection here. Right brain is art, that is Saraswati. Saraswati Kadaksham nama solluvom. Left brain is Lakshmi. Lakshmi Kadaksham. So, in our culture, normally we tell those who are blessed by Lakshmi will not have Saraswati. Those who are blessed with Saraswati will not have Lakshmi. And that is why we had Kalviya, Chelvama, Veerama, Sulita, and the Kalathilinde Padam. That is why we have those movies. Now, what I am trying to tell you is that you can have both. You can have both Lakshmi and Saraswati in your life. By being an integrated human being. When you do right nostril breathing, you affect your left brain. When you do left nostril breathing, you affect your right brain. And when you do right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, what do you think is happening? You are connecting the corpus callosum fibers between your right and left brain, making yourself an integrated human being. And that is why Lord Krishna tells us that yoga is not for the one who sleeps too much or doesn't sleep, eats too much, doesn't eat. He says that person who is yukta, the integrated, moderate person. Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna bhavodasya, yoga bhavati dukkha ha. That dukkha, that suffering, not just suffering, painful suffering. And due to our avidya, we think everything that we think is sukha is actually dukkha. That is our avidya according to Patanjali. The best definition of avidya is that. Thinking that dukkha is sukha, that entire list that is there. A beautiful definition from the Bhagavad Gita. Again our cultural heritage. Where he says, dukkha samyoga viyogam. What are we doing? We go and attach. We attach ourselves by our subjectivity to all our suffering. My problem. My patients come to me. Doctor, my diabetes, my hypertension, my insomnia. Everything is my, Maya. I say, why don't you just call it the diabetes? You will get rid of it. Because then it is the diabetes that needs to be kicked out of you. The hypertension that needs to be kicked out of you. The moment you say, my hypertension, it becomes your property. And right from the days of the Mahabharata, property was started long back. So the moment you think this is me, you identify with your disease, how are you going to get rid of it? And that is why dukkha samyoga viyogam. To be able to separate yourself from your tendency to unite with your suffering. And this is where the concept of objectivity, the beautiful concept here of looking at that first person swadhyaya, which is the key in yoga. When you are doing that swadhyaya, the danger is you become so subjective, you lose all objectivity. Please understand, the most important aspect of science and yoga as a science is objectivity. And that is why when even Patanjali tells us, both Patanjali and Krishna, they say the same thing. They say if you want to work on this mind, if you want to still the mind, abhyasa vairagya. Abhyasa is that push, 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 push. And the vairagya is that let go. I like to think of abhyasa as the accelerator and vairagya as the brake. Only accelerator, what will happen? Crash. Only brake, you go nowhere. You need that interplay. And that is why abhyasena vairagya is in Kaunteya, in the Bhagavad Gita he talks. And in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, again abhyasa vairagya as the key. And that is why yoga as a science, vairagya gives it the objectivity towards one's own subjective experiences. This is what I want to point out here, because this is a continuation of the point they made. When you become subjective, modern science says that is hocus pocus. How to develop an objectivity towards one's own subjective experience. Because the moment a problem is mine, it looks like a mountain. The moment the problem is yours, it looks like a molehill. The same problem. What is the difference between molehill and mountain? Whether I have attached to it as my problem or I decide it is not my problem. Well, you would say this is easy to say. How do we do it? Effort. Life is not easy. Life was not meant to be easy. It is a lesson. And that is why we come back so many times until finally we learn the lesson and then Kaivalya is there. Up to that time, the very fact we are here means we haven't yet learned that lesson. It is a way of life. Now, way of life doesn't mean in the morning, sir, I did 10 minutes of yoga practice. Now I am fine, sir. People ask me, how many hours of yoga do you do every day? I say 24 hours. They don't believe me. Yoga is to be lived 24 hours. That is why yuktahara viharasya. It's not just exercise. How do you think? How do you walk? How do you eat? How do you sleep? Conscious evolution. Till now all our evolution was, it just happened. Now we have to choose. We have to make the decision that I want to do it. Recently there was a cartoon running around the net which plays on an old phrase, and they say, you can take a human being to school, but you cannot make them think. And I think this is very true. You know, we talked about taking a horse to water, not making them drink. They are plain. The horse tells it this way. Transformation is guaranteed with yoga if you wish for it. But if you don't want the transformation, nobody else can do it for you. If you are hungry, you have to eat. If you are hungry and I start eating a nice jalebi in front and say, yes, now you should not be hungry. Is it possible? It is an anubhava. It is an experience. Without experience, nothing can happen, and that is why it has to be conscious and it has to be a way of life. And it is fivefold awareness. Awareness of the body. What is my body doing? Awareness of my mind. Awareness of my emotions. And ultimately developing into a state where we are aware of awareness itself. It is that objectivity of subjectivity. Awareness of awareness. But you said, Dr. Ananda, you said 5 and you only said 4. Body, mind, emotions and awareness. Well, before all of that, I first have to know how unaware I am. The first step is to be aware of how unaware we are. That is the starting point. Union We have talked a lot about that Jivatma, Paramatma, body, mind, emotion, spirit, the breath with the body movement. Well, so many links are there. I look upon yoga as skillful action, that nishkamya karma, karma su kaushalam. And again, one of the most important mantras I have found in my life is karmanyeva adhikarasti, ma phaleshu kadachana. I think that is most important. You are a human being. Be the best human being you can be. Don't worry about whether people recognize you, they take photo, whether your video is live webcast worldwide, whether I will get a nice memento at the end of this speech or not. Don't care about that. That will automatically happen. All you are to do as a human being is do the best you can. And that is the message, I think, for modern people. As young students of MOP Vaishnav College, be the best student you can be. If you are a daughter, be the best daughter you can be. If you are a mother, be the best mother you can be. If you are a teacher, be the best teacher you can be. If you are a student, be the best student. Whatever you are, try to be the best you can be. And the word best here is not a competitive. It is that realize your potential, manifest your potential. And this is why it becomes both the destination as well as the journey itself. It's not just that what will happen at the end of yoga. As someone was telling this morning, I think it was Lataka, not too sure, it was one of the morning sessions, that it is not what I will get later, it happens right now. It's happening right now, that conscious development, that growth is happening right now. The next slide, please. When we look at our cultural dimension, we see that, as I said, the rishis are our ancestors. But the issue is that we are generally ignorant. And one of my students, an Australian student, she's actually German, living in Australia. She was in China for some time and teaching some yoga to the Chinese. And she said most of the Chinese people, they thought that yoga is an American keep fit exercise. Now it's okay for Chinese to think that. But if you take a survey in India, there will still be quite a big percentage who think yoga is an American keep fit exercise. Do we realize the treasures we have? There's a story from South Africa of a guy who was a farmer. And he was on this plot of land but nothing was growing. He tried everything. Potatoes, tomatoes, lettuce, tapioca, whatever he wanted to try. Nothing worked. He got tired. Finally, he sold it to someone, and that is the same location that the biggest diamond mine in South Africa is today. Isn't that an amazing story? A very sad story, but a very big lesson. We are sitting on an amazing heritage and looking for Lay's chips. Don't sell your golden heritage for the plastics of the modern world, was something that my father used to tell us again and again. And again, if you look at our music, yoga is there in the music. All the amazing compositions, Tyagaraja, Shyama Sastri, Muthuswami Dikshita, Kabir, Surdas. You look any part of India, you look at those beautiful compositions, all of them have the yogic message running through them. When in the dance we do a padam or a javali, what are we doing? We are the Nayaki. She is finding for the Lord. Won't he come? Won't he come? What is it actually? It is the Jivatma finding for the Paramatma, nothing else. And who brings the Nayaki and the Nayaka together? The Sakhi. Who is the Sakhi? The Guru. It's there. It's just that we think that Bharatanatyam is something to be seen on stage. We forget that. What is the cultural heritage behind it? What is the inner message? We forget all of those. When we look at the wonderful pottery, painting, handicraft, folk arts, the most neglected aspect, amazing folk arts that have all these primitive cultural principles, Purusha, Prakriti, that is found very deeply in the four cards. When you look at the literature, the Vedas, the Upanishads, I always look especially at the Thirumandaram and Thirukural, because these are neglected again. The Thirukural and Thirumandaram have amazing concepts that are to do with yoga, that bring out the concept of how to live as a human being. The concept of the Yama Niyama is very beautifully brought out in many verses of the Thirukural. The concept of the Maitri Karuna Muditopekshanam is again brought out in the Thirukural. The concept of Pratipaksha Bhavanam is also brought out in the Thirukural. Many of these concepts. So they are not exclusive. And I was very happy to hear of the Buddhist concepts similar to these, because again people immediately jump to the old dialogue. Was Buddha before Patanjali or Patanjali before Buddha? And my thing is, it doesn't really matter. These are beautiful concepts. Let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. Again, our Vedas tell us that. Be open-minded. Not empty-minded, open-minded. In our daily life, how do we eat? This morning, Sridharan sir was talking about the Sandhya Vandana. How we live our life. That itself has so many aspects of yoga. When you get up in the morning, what are you to do? How are you to behave? All of these are yogic principles that come into the life. Next one, please. Now, when we come to the health dimension, which becomes the most important dimension that people come to yoga today, I want to be healthy. And we do a lot of work with young kids trying to give them the preventive medicine of yoga. Prevent, as the motto goes, Heyam Dukkam Anagatam. I think that is definitely what we try to do with the young children. The physical strength, endurance, flexibility. And for the young people, there's a concept called yoga sport, where for the young people you have certain competitions to motivate them to take up the practice of yoga. But again, we keep on reminding them, the yoga sport is not yoga. It's one small anga. It is like my little finger is part of me, but just my little finger is not me. And so we have theoretical aspects, yoga fancy dress, yoga essay competitions, yoga, what do you call that? Dham sharats, yoga quiz, to try and motivate the young people to take up the practice. The mental benefits of all of these, this one benefit called self-acceptance is one I want to highlight. Because the young people have such a lack of self-acceptance today. Everybody wants to look like the latest film star on TV. And I must tell you, none of those film stars look like what they look on screen when you see them in day-to-day life. And even one of the very famous models in USA, Cindy Crawford, she once made a statement that when she gets up in the morning and looks at the mirror, even she doesn't look like Cindy Crawford. And my nose is too long. I am too tall, I am too short, I am too skinny, I am too fat, my fingernails are too sharp, they are not sharp. We get caught up in such an amazing thing, and I see this with the young people. And the moment you don't accept yourself, the mind and body start to split apart. Please understand that. The moment you say, I don't like me, I don't like my nose, I don't like my eyes, I don't like the way I look, what you have done is you have torn apart the mind-body harmony. You have seeded the seed for future psychosomatic disorders. And this is the most important aspect that we need to work on. Self-acceptance. Be what you are. Understand the pluses and the minuses. A recent statement by our Prime Minister on what is normally said to be a half empty cup of water or half full, he said it is half full with water, half full with air. And I think this is a message we need to take in our own life. What are the pluses? The pluses for me are the niyamas. The minuses are the yamas. A small example. Because I am white, I stand out wherever I am, like I am standing today. So in school, 300 plus children, I was the only white guy. In college, 1,000 students, I was the only white guy. Initially, you are like, can't I be a bit more brown? Okay? I went through that phase also. I understand it totally. I am not sermonizing. I am speaking from my own experience. But you know what? After some time, I realized, because of that whiteness, I couldn't do anything wrong. If I missed a class, the teachers know, where is that white boy? If I went for an extra gulab jamun in the kitchen, hey, you already got it. So what it became? It became my own yama. It became my control from the negative tendencies. Because if I do the negative tendencies, I'll be caught. So this became my own controller of my negative deviant vitarkas. But anything I did positive, the teachers saw me. When I did something good, who did it? That guy. And at the end of the year, when the Viva exam would be there, all my professors knew me. No wonder I got gold medal and distinction. And guys who had been with me the whole year, the professor asked, I have never seen you in class. It became my niyama. Why do I share this? I share this a lot with the young people. You may stand out because of something. You are too tall, too fat, too thin, something. That fact that you stand out becomes your insurance against the negativities, your yama, and it becomes your insurance towards the positivities, your niyama. And that is what we need to work on. Yoga is not just about putting your leg over your neck. That's nice. It looks good in a photo and you can win some prizes and I will give you a certificate that you're good at putting your leg over your neck. Okay, fine. You can frame it and put it on your desk. But what is more important? Are you at ease with yourself? That sukha sthanam, that point of ease, that is what health is. Health is not something you attain. You have to have that constant equilibrium. And that is why the concept of samatvam yoga uchyate comes in. Siddhya siddhayo samabhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Because that samatvam is the most important. Somebody says something good about you, you can come back to balance, you don't get a head weight, and then somebody says, you idiot, no, fine. Someone said good, someone said bad, okay, fine, balanced out. That is the concept, that point where you are at ease with yourself. How do you respond? How does your cerebral cortex and that which is above it, your psyche, respond to the situation? Because if you respond to the situation, you will be a responsible human being. Most people react, they don't respond. You hit me, as someone said, you click like on Facebook, I click like, you don't click like, I don't click like. You offend me, I offend you, you defend me, I defend you. This is reactions. The response part is when it moves from your spinal level of reaction, reflex, up here, and you start to understand life is not all about just having Facebook likes, okay? There's something more to life. Spiritual feeling, that andathil ullade pindam. What is the connection between the cosmos and me? How am I connected? And that no man is an island. To understand that what I do affects those around me, what they do affects me. This beautiful connection, finding your place in the universe. We all have a place in the universe. We all have it. There's nobody who is cursed. Nobody. Our culture doesn't have that concept of being cursed. You may fall away. That's all, but you can find your way back. And that is the beauty, that we all have a place. That sukhasthanam, that niche where we are at ease with ourselves. We are manifesting our potential. The next one, please. Now, if this health is lost, well then we have to look at the therapeutic dimension. And as I said, the preventive aspect is the primary component where yoga comes in. Promotive, positive health, to tide over the crisis, like having a positive bank balance. You have a positive health balance, that whenever there's a challenge, you can manage it better, you can still get to your office and get through the day, even if you are not feeling well. That sort of energy, a sense of well-being. When someone asks you, how are you? The question, your answer shouldn't be, my blood pressure is normal, my blood sugar is normal, my electrocardiogram is normal, my ECG is alpha wave. What do they want? I am well. And please remember the concept of wellness. You know, W-E-L-L-N-E-S-S. Now if I replace W-E with an I, my ego, what does wellness become? What does it become? Illness. What is the difference between wellness and illness? The fact that I understand others exist, others have as much of a right to live as me, I become well, I feel well. As long as I'm insulated inside my own ego, only me, mine, gone. I have lost all connection. And this movement from the I to the we is a very important, because you are moving from the Annamaya Kosha sort of to the Anandamaya Kosha. That sort of journey is happening when you can move. The curative aspect, Thirukural teaches us, Noi Nadi, Noi Mudal Nadi, Adu Tanikkum Vai Nadi, Vai Pachaya. You should look for what is the cause, the Adi for the Vyadi. Nowadays we are only doing symptomatic management. When yoga as a therapy, yoga chikitsa is used only for symptomatic management, I prefer to call it yogopathy. Like allopathy and all that pathis. It is, instead of saying for your hypertension you take this medicine, I say for your hypertension you do shavasana. This is yogopathy. It will help people, but it is not complete yoga chikitsa. Until and unless the philosophy, the psychology, the cultural aspects of yoga come into it, enabling the person to move from that state of dukkha to a state of sukha, it is not yoga chikitsa. It is all just filling the dam with tissue paper. And it's not going to last long. In the psychic and psychosomatic stages of stress disorders, it can work, enhancing the self-healing potential. I think this is a very important aspect. And in restorative and rehabilitative aspects of health. Next one please. The social dimension, understanding one's own self, and that is where Swadhyaya comes in. Understanding our strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. The SWOT analysis applied to the self in an objective manner, that is Swadhyaya. And without Swadhyaya, there cannot really be any yoga. Because if you don't know where you are, what you are doing, how are you going to know? You will easily have what Patanjali says is an Antaraya Bhranti Darshan. You will think, I am so elevated, I am in Samadhi and all that, because you don't have that objectiveness. The concept of interpersonal relationships in family, with your friends, with society and with other living beings. Jiva Karunya, that Vallala, Ramalinga Vallala stood for. It is very essential. You cannot say I'm only going to be, compassionate towards human beings, not to other beings. Come on. All are living beings. That compassion that has to come, Jiva Karunya comes. And the transpersonal relationships, equilibrium with the cosmos, and a concept of the world view which our culture tells us as Vasudhaiva Kudumbakkam, and a very beautiful Purana statement, Yadum Ure Yavarum Kele. Very important. Now everybody knows it because A.R. Rahman put it in that Semmozhi, Tamil Mozhi anthem. Up to that time nobody knew it existed. Yadum Ure Yavarum Kele. Every place is my place, all the people are my family. When you have that oneness, no more threat. If you and I are the same, that is what Namaste is all about. That is what Namaskaram. I understand that the divinity is manifesting in you as it is manifesting in me. So that if you get a good name, I am happy. If you don't get a good name, I feel bad, I want to help you. But if I feel that you are different than me, please understand, Dvaitam is the first stage. You are different than me. How can I let you come up? If you come up, then I will go down. But if I understand you and me are the same, are one and the same, that is this concept that yoga brings out. The next one, educational dimension. Nowadays you have a lot of self-development courses going on, where short-term, long-term, personality, efficiency, stress management. And I think this is very nice that the young people can have such development courses so that they can be the best they can be. You should be the best you that you can be, and it definitely helps. Professional training such as instructor, teacher and therapist trainings are there, certificate, diploma, PhD diploma, and right up to PhD and yoga programs are available these days for the young people who want to take it up as a career. The research dimensions, next one please. We have the scientific, medical, clinical research that looks at what happens to your blood pressure, your brain waves, your heart waves, when you do different techniques or different capsules, different programs. At the same time, you have a very important fundamental research that is neglected in these days. We have not really researched what happens in different techniques, but we are already looking at combinations. So when you look at the combination, 10 asanas and 2 pranayamas and 1 relaxation technique produce an effect. Which of them was helping, which was hindering, I have no idea. It's like throwing, 10 stones and 1 mango was hit. I don't know which stone hit it. So the fundamental research, what happens in different techniques is very essential. And again, what happens when the person goes inside? And I think this is where, though my previous speaker was feeling bad about the monks who are volunteering for this, and I very much empathize with your feeling, because I do wonder why should any of these spiritually elevated people bother to even come to a lab. This is one question I have. But as a scientist, I'm happy, because what happens when a person goes into these states, so that we start to understand. We all know that yoga works. We all know it makes us feel better. Why does it feel better? This is the question we ask, the next question. And then when you know why, to explain it to somebody else, to help the other person grow, it becomes easier. The philosophico-literary research, I always appreciate the work done at Kaivalya Dhamma for this very specially, because the amount of texts and the critical evaluations that have been done. And I must also mention the recent publication by, where is Mr. Jayaraman? Yes, on the Yoga Sutra in Tamil, on the Patanjali. I think this is the type of work we need to give people what are our texts, give them in a very beautiful manner. Try to understand what do our texts really say. And you need to have a cultural understanding to understand what is said. It is not just knowing Sanskrit or knowing Telugu or Tamil. You have to understand the culture, you have to understand and be practicing the technique to know what is actually being said. So it's a very big field. And what I would say is that the Indian government has set up the traditional knowledge digital library, which is a very important step in the patents and people copywriting the yoga aspects in the West. That wasn't done by a Western person, but by an Indian person in the USA, as we all know. But the TKDL is a very important step, and we should all try to contribute. I believe Sridhar sir has been working with the TKDL for some time also. And only the tip of the iceberg has been cited, nothing more. And this is where in the last slide, I just wanted to show you what are some of the dimensions that are actually happening. These dimensions are happening. There was a question about, these are beautiful concepts, but why allopathy doctors are not using them. This is an allopathic hospital. We have a yoga center there. We had a yoga center in Jipma for 4 years, where along with allopathic medication, they are given the yoga practices, they are given the yogic counseling, enabled to have swadhyaya, enabled to understand what is the cause of the disorder, the disease they are having, and how to come out. And we are training the young medical, paramedical and yoga professionals to become yoga therapists. One of the first programs offered by a modern medical college in India is the program offered, and as you can see, no age is a bar. 63 years, and he won the Champion of Champion at Puducherry last year. Here you have the yoga for the special children. You find that for hypertension it helps, cardiovascular. Nowadays the young people on YouTube, about 300 videos we have put up, trying to take it to the young people. And for all of this, I think the most important need is that we must want to go inside. We must want to understand our heritage. We must want to become a better we than we were. And I think be the best human being we can be in this incarnation. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to yoga. We owe it to the universe. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Hello, sir.
I found a lot of concepts of yoga overlapping with Buddhism, and you mentioned that too. But I would really like to know how it is different from Buddhism.
See, basically, if you understand that Buddha himself was a Hindu, brought up in the cultural ethos of Hinduism, taking a new dimension, I think then you will understand that both spring from the same source. And it is just the expressions that are different. Because the concept, the basic concepts are not too different. I don't see it as a conflict. This is the basic message I would like to give. I don't see it as a conflict. It is just that the Buddha felt the present path that was going on was not the path that he felt would be best for humanity. While the rishis felt that their path was the best for humanity. And I think ideally each one of us has to find our own path. So it is not one size fits all. Each one of us has to find our own path. The Buddha can help, Patanjali can help, Krishna can help, Jesus can help. I have no objection to anyone helping. But ultimately it is us who have to start the journey, keep going, and make that final jump to moksha, kaivalya, mukti, nirvana, whatever you call it.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful, thought-provoking, inspiring speech. I'm sure the youngsters will definitely be motivated to know more about yoga, not as just some postures, but as a science and as a way of life. As a token of our gratitude, I request the CEO of Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, Mr. Swaminathan, to present the shawl and the memento to Dr. Bhavanani.
So I get a memento. I get a memento.
I also request Dr.Sampadananada Mishra, the chairperson of this session, will give a brief summing up of the session as well.
Presentation was so clear and it was presented in such a manner that there is no need to summarize, but I would like to compliment with the words that you spoke in a manner in which the young mind could understand it, and the message of yoga in its true sense was conveyed perfectly. Well done. Thank you. And I would like to sum up with one thing. In our tradition, we have three words. The first word is Brahmanya. Brahmanya means the knowledge of Brahman. You must know it. But mere knowledge of Brahman will not do. The second step, the second word in our tradition is Brahmishta. Whatever knowledge you gather, whatever experience you gather, you must live that experience. You must live that truth. You must live that truth, what you have realized. The last word, so in this the journey doesn't end. The last word is Brahmibhuta, to become that. And to find out, as it was pointed out, so I am summarizing a little bit of thoughts of these. To discover the dharma of ourselves is our dharma. The most important dharma of ours is to discover the music of our life. Very well demonstrated right in the beginning. Music is important. Dance is important. Yoga is important. And in all the aspects of our life, this yoga is expressed. Wherever there is harmony, there is yoga. Wherever there is beauty, there is yoga. Without beauty and harmony, you can't think of yoga. And in music, in dance, and in everything, this essential aspect of yoga is very well expressed. And this talk of Dr. Bhavanani was very important and relevant because this is a seminar of first time where you see many young people sitting. Most of the seminars you have elderly people discussing, asking questions, and where the young people do not get a chance even to ask a question. And this was most important, and thank you for the organizers also to invite him and arrange such kind of seminar. Thanks again.
While we move on to the next session, it is just a reminder to the participants to kindly hand over the feedback forms when the volunteers come to the row. That's one thing. And we also extend a very hearty welcome to Dr. Sri Mandiram, one of the major trustees of Krishnamacharya Mandiram, on behalf of the Vaishnav College for Women and the Krishnamacharya Bhavanani sir, we extend a very hearty welcome to you. Dr. Jayarana will present a bouquet to Dr. Madhavan as a token of our happiness in your coming here, sir. In spite of all your other responsibilities, you have been able to schedule your presence here. Thank you to all of us. Thank you. The chairperson of the next session is Dr. Balasubramanian, one of the joint directors of Kupaswami Shastri Research Institute, Chennai. Dr.Sampadananada Mishra, Director of Sri Aurobindo Foundation for Indian Culture, Sri Aurobindo Society, Puducherry, is a scholar in Sanskrit and an expert in the science of yoga as well. He has presented papers and spoken at various conferences and seminars, both at the national and international level, conducted several teacher training programs and orientation courses. And one great factor which I should say in Dr. Mishra is he has been able to appeal to a beginner in Sanskrit to the greatest scholar as well. So that is what has made him so popular amongst students and subject experts. He was one of the keynote speakers in WAVE's conference that took place in Trinidad and Tobago in the year 2010. This year, Dr. Mishra was invited to Monash University, Melbourne for giving a talk on character development and service to humanity in a seminar on Swami Vivekananda. No doubt, the Government of India has conferred the President's Award, Maharshi Badarayana Vyasa Samman, in the year 2011 for his outstanding contribution to Sanskrit. His achievements are vast and many, which would really take some time for me to summarize in the short time that I am given here. I request Dr. Mishra to excuse me for the same. And on behalf of the KYM and MOP, I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. And definitely the students are looking forward to your enlightening talk. Thank you. At the same time, I would also extend a warm welcome to Dr. Balasubramaniam, the chairperson of the session, the joint director in Kuppaswamy Shastri Research Institute. He is distinguished by getting 2 doctorate degrees in yoga. On behalf of MOP and KYM, I extend a very hearty welcome to you, sir. And Dr. Jayaraman will welcome Dr. Balasubramaniam with a floral bouquet. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Jayaraman.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namasabhavya Sabhavadhyasya. I'm extremely happy for one reason, that a topic which is given to me, the topic is very, very dear to my heart. Sanskrit as a language of yoga. I was taught Sanskrit by my grandfather in a yogic way. I learned Sanskrit in a yogic way. I use Sanskrit in a yogic way. I teach Sanskrit in a yogic way. For me, Sanskrit is yoga. Sanskrit and yoga are synonymous to each other. How does it happen? A conscious use of this language can give you the benefit of yoga. But yoga in a broader sense, and it was very well demonstrated, presented and conveyed by the previous speaker. So yoga not in its limited sense, but in its broader sense. As a language of Sanskrit, these are the points on which I am going to base my discussions. It makes us aware of ourselves and the very purpose of our life. How does language do that? It instills in us a sense of freedom, makes us realize our divine nature, impacts the different faculties of consciousness, helps us to grow from within. These are the qualities of the language. But before that, we need to know the difference between a survival language and a sacred language. Most of the languages that we are using in our day-to-day life, they are survival languages. They are based on convention, where you say that this is hand. Say, I'm taking the example of English. You say that this is hand, but why this is called hand, this is very difficult to explain. Sanskrit is a language, and I would agree with the previous speaker when he started. He said that the yoga is the creation of yoga, the creation of the universe. In the same way, when people ask me about the history of Sanskrit, recently I had a dialogue with a very young and intelligent mind who asked me this question. He said, I'm looking for an answer, and don't answer this question in an academic manner, because I can search, I know how to search the Google engine in a very intelligent manner, and I can get many answers to this. He asked this question, how old is Sanskrit? He said, I don't expect any academic answer to it, because I have had interactions with many people, I have got a lot of materials. I'm looking for some answer which would touch my heart. I said that this would be the answer. Probably this was a question in me from my childhood, and the answer which I received from within, from my own experience with the language, I shared that with him, and he was happy. The difference between sacred language and the survival language. In a survival language, the words refer to an object. Sanskrit doesn't have any word which refers to an object. Then you can say that then Sanskrit should have a word for fan. Yes, Sanskrit does have a word for fan. Sanskrit has a word for hand. Sanskrit has a word for all the objects. How can you say that the words do not refer to the object? There are words in Sanskrit to convey, to refer to all objects, but they truly do not refer to object, but they refer to the properties of the object. Now we say the fan is the object, but in Sanskrit, the words, if you analyze, if you go to the very root sound, the deep etymology of the words, you will find that it doesn't refer to the object, but it refers to the properties of the object. This is what happens with the sacred language. The fan rotates, the fan pushes the air, the fan has other properties. So all the different words which refer to fan, they actually refer to the different properties of the object. And the properties are there, right? Before the object happened, came into existence. So when someone asks me this question, how old is Sanskrit? I give back another question, how old is this creation? How old is this universe? So it goes, the history of Sanskrit goes back to this level. The sacred language is that which doesn't refer to object, but to the properties of the object. You can see, you can analyze each and every word in Sanskrit, and you can see the most important thing about this language, that it has grown organically. Not like other languages, it has grown organically. There is a perfect relationship between sound and sense. This is the principle of yoga, the perfect relationship between sound and sense. Vagartha vivasam prabhuto, vagartha pratibhatta. The sense of a word is derived from the depth of the sound. It's this eternal relationship. And Sanskrit, as a sacred language, is also a mantric language. From its very inception, it's a mantric language. What is the nature of a mantric language? When and in which condition a language can be called mantric, or a language can be raised to the level of mantra. It is not this language or that language. Any language can be raised from its inertia to the level of divinity or to the level of mantra. This is what Sri Aurobindo did in the case of English. When you read Sri Aurobindo's English, his poetry, Savitri or Life Divine or Synthesis of Yoga, you almost feel the vibration, the mantra shakti. He has raised, he has brought it out from the level of inertia to that level. And in the case of Sanskrit, all our ancient rishis they have done that. They have raised from its very inception, the Sanskrit is raised to the level of mantra. What is the nature of mantric language? The first thing is that the words here, the vocabularies, are derived from the root sounds. Actually, even you can go back to the root of the root sounds, the seed sounds. From the seed sounds, the root sounds. From the root sounds, the primary root sounds, secondary root sounds, tertiary root sounds, and each root sound has a range of fundamental experiences behind it. And it is those experiences, they affect the meanings derived from a particular root sound. So it is vast, and when you analyze any word in Sanskrit, and you can see in the very structure of the language, the principles of yoga, all the basic principles of yoga, how organically the language has grown. So the mantric language grows organically, and a mantric language has three ideals. The first ideal of mantric language is that it enables the individual or the user to express the content of experience using minimum words. Using minimum words. That's why in the sutras you have alpakshara. The mantras are also, like you take the example of Ishopanishad, has got only 18 mantras. How precise the Upanishads are. Using minimum words, they have brought out the content of the experience as it was. The first condition, first ideal of a mantric language is that it enables the individual, the user, to express the content of the experience using minimum words. The second idea is by expenditure of less energy. The ancients did not spend much of their time and energy to give you this high content. And then the last and the most important ideal of the mantric language is that it enables the individual to express the content of the experience or bring out the content of the experience without maximum loss. So the exact, whatever happened in the experience, the symbols and the sound, everything emerged, and there is hardly any loss in the mantras. When you come in contact with any mantra, it almost puts you in touch with the experience which gave birth to that mantra. So the nature of mantric language is that based on these three ideals, Sanskrit is a perfect mantric language. The second point is that it makes us aware of ourselves and the very purpose of our life. Recently, I was addressing a group of students, young people from Andhra Pradesh. I had posted the essence of that talk on my Facebook page. So I did a small exercise with these young children, and then the same thing you all can try it out. I asked them the names of each participant in that workshop. Believe me, none of the 28 young students who were there, they're from various backgrounds, could say the meaning of their names. And all the 28 names were pure Sanskrit words. This is again another exercise you can try out. If you want to learn Sanskrit, try to make a list of as many Indian names as you can. So out of 100 Indian names, 95 names are pure Sanskrit words. You can have more than 100 vocabularies because sometimes one name has 2 or 3 Sanskrit words. So they didn't know the meaning of their names. Now you see, when you point out to them that you know the meaning of all the beautiful names with beautiful meanings, if they become aware, so I tell them that if you know the meaning of the name, your name, and you behave accordingly, you are a different person. This creates a kind of, so Sanskrit words create a kind of awareness in you. And this self-awareness, so it helps you to become something. It makes you aware of the very purpose of your life. So the first point is that it makes us aware of ourselves and the very purpose of our life. So many examples you can cite from the Sanskrit language. So I'm not talking about the literature, the very language itself. The second thing is that it instills us in the sense of freedom. So yoga is all about freedom, all about harmony, all about beauty, all about unity, union. So how does this language instills the sense of freedom? You can see in the very structure of the language that it allows you not to speak in the same manner, not by using the same word. So for example, if you are using English, so you have no option but to use the word water for water. All the people of the world, so you can have another technical word, so H2O, but no one will understand that. But everyone is bound to use one word. But Sanskrit has more than 30 words. So the list is never a complete list. Again, see, suppose Amara Kosha gives you 30 words about a particular object or a particular concept. So that list is not a final list. You are free to create your own word depending upon your experience with that object. You can have a new experience with the object. So you are free to create your own word. You are free to use a particular word you want to use. So the amount of freedom and the flexibility that you find in this language is something amazing. In this way, the language allows you to use it freely and instills this sense of freedom in you. The second, the third aspect is that it makes us realize our divine nature. Sanskrit, another name for this is Deva Bhasha, Deva Vani. Most of the times we translate it as language of God. Again, there is a problem with the translation. Our culture, our tradition, our language is non-translated. That's why you see that the word yoga is not translatable. So the whole world accepts yoga as yoga. It cannot be translated. No Sanskrit word can be translated into any European language. To some extent, to the Indian languages, but not to any European or other languages. It can be interpreted. You can interpret yoga, but you cannot translate. You can interpret Atman, you can interpret Purusha, you can interpret Maya, but you cannot translate it. It's a non-translatable culture, non-translatable language. And in this sense, Deva Bhasha is again non-translatable. But literally, we can say that it's language of gods. But who has seen God speaking in this? Gods do not have any language. So you can make a prayer to God using any language. So gods do not look at your grammar, do not look at your poetics and all these things. They straight look at the heart, your aspiration. So how can we say that it's a language of gods? But this language has something in it. At the essential level, it has something in it that it instills this sense of divinity. It instills all the divine qualities. And Sanskrit is the only language perhaps which has got maximum number of words to describe the divine nature of it. It has got maximum number of words to describe meditative experiences. And it's perhaps the only language in which to some extent the deeper, profounder, subtler, spiritual, occult experiences can be interpreted or translated, not to the fullest, but to some extent. Language, because it's a perfect language. When you say perfect language, perfection doesn't have any end. But at a certain point of realization of perfection, this language was perfect. But we can cite so many examples from Sanskrit, from the language, from the literature, from the vocabulary, from the structure, from its phonetics, that how it instills this sense of divine. It impacts different faculties of consciousness. In a sense that this language is a language of consciousness. How it brings clarity to the mental level of consciousness. Clarity, transparency is the very nature of this language. You pick up any word, any root sound, the amount of transparency that you will find the way the word is derived, the way the meaning is associated with that, you'll never find it in any other language. And this clarity at the mental level, again, the way it refines our emotions at the emotional level, at the vital level, it brings in this refinement. And the way, because of the power of the vibration of the sounds, the purity of the vibration of the sounds, it brings healing at the physical level of consciousness. And it makes you aware of the deeper, the central being of yours, the Atman. And then it puts you in touch with the universal. So all the fivefold different levels which were talked earlier. So how Sanskrit connects and defines these faculties, the way it trains the mind is another amazing fact. Sanskrit being logical, very structured scientific language. How does it do? Maybe I can give you some examples. And finally, Sanskrit helps us to grow from within, which is important and which is the basic principle of yoga, that it helps you to grow from within. So therefore, it is not enough to study Sanskrit and learn it in terms of its vocabulary, with grammatical structure and usage. That may serve only a preliminary acquaintance, but a real and intimate entry in it would demand a proper initiation into its native character, its inherent nature, its reason, its philosophy, and science, and the yogic and occult dynamism. So this is what we need to do, that we need to enter into the deepest depth of the nature of this. Sanskrit, from its very inception, is a mantric language. I have explained to you about it. Sanskrit, like yoga, is scientific in its character. So how scientific? I'll give you some examples. In Sanskrit, there is an eternal relationship between sound and sense. The vision of Sanskrit is to harmonize. It's a great harmonizer. Like in the Lalita Sahasranama, you have one epithet for Lalita is Samarasya Parayana, the most befitting epithet for the Sanskrit language itself. How it harmonizes the body, mind and soul. How it brings harmony. Not only it speaks out, it exercises that power of harmonization when someone uses this language consciously. But it is all about the conscious use of this language. Not that anyone who speaks Sanskrit is a conscious person. It's the same thing about yoga, that a man who works in the field also does physical exertion. So it doesn't mean that yoga is not required for the yoga is not about physical exertion. How much exertion happens to be physical. So it makes you conscious, it's a conscious process. So when you use the language consciously, this is what was the nature of our ancient Indians, the seers and sages. They used the language for discovering the sacredness of their life, discovering the truth of everything within and without. That is why this language has been made so vibrant, so living, and this culture itself, for so many thousands of years, so many civilizations have come up and then gone. So out of 46 civilizations, as the history says, so 45 have gone into oblivion. The only civilization which lives the living culture is the Indian culture. Why? What could be the reason? So now, one of the most attractive features of Sanskrit is the musicality of its sounds. So this part I will come a little later, but now I would like to dwell a little bit on the scientific aspect of this language, the structure, the phonetics of it, and explain you how certain aspects of the language can be practiced to get the benefits of yoga. I'm starting with the very foundational aspect of the language, the phonetics, the alphabet, Varnamala. Now there's a font broken, so you will see the word Varnamala. So Varnamala is the term which is used for alphabet. And you can see the philosophy behind it. So there are two terminologies which are used for Varnamala. Varnamala is Varnamala and Akshara Samavanaya. So any sound, basic sound in Sanskrit is known as Varna or Akshara. Always you can see the philosophy and the language. They go hand in hand here. So why it was called Varna? Any sound was called Varna or Akshara. So Akshara is that which is imperishable. Any sound which is created, any vibration which is created, as per the Indian metaphysics, the sound does not die. Na shabdo kshiyate, na shabda kshiyate, na shabda mriyate, shabdo nitya. Sound is eternal. There is no end to sound. So anything, the moment you think, you create a vibration, and that vibration is permanent. That is why the ancient Indians, they gave importance to never think ill of anyone, never allow any ill thought, evil thought in you. But that creates a vibration that gets absorbed in the akasha. It's permanent. And whoever is open to that idea will get that. And most of the times we say that, oh, he is a murderer, he is a this, he is that. We keep complaining, but we forget that at some point of my time, my life, I would have contributed something towards his being like this. So, Ano Bhadra Pratavo Yanta Vishwatama, let noble thoughts come unto us from all sides. These were the messages. So, Akshara is known as the sound is imperishable. And the Varna, they are heroes. So, at the highest level, sound doesn't have any color. It's free from all colors. When it descends down from the para level to the Pasyanti, Madhyama and the Vaikhari, it absorbs colors. And the ancient Indian yogis, the seers, the sages, in their experiences, in their meditation, in their contemplation, they could see that which sound has which color. So you can find description of those in the Tantra Shastra and many other Shastras. So that's not the point I'm going to discuss here. But this is what is Sanskrit alphabet. That how a system of, inbuilt system of pranayama is there in the alphabet. This is what I'm going to explain. So Sanskrit does a great thing by separating the vowels and consonants. In no other alphabet you will find that the vowels and consonants are separate. So they are mixed with each other. So the vowels are free-flowing sounds, the intoning sounds, the infinite. So you can say that infinite sounds are the finite sounds. The vyanjanas are decorative sounds. So the prana and the sharira, the atman and the sharira, this is the difference, like the Uireldu and Meyeldu in Tamil. So they have preserved the right terminology. So here you have Swara and Vyanjana. So now you see, the arrangement of the sounds here, they're very logical and very scientific. And what I am going to convey through this is that this system of arrangement of sounds has an inbuilt system of a pranayama, which can give you the benefit of pranayama when you recite the Sanskrit alphabet every day. This is a practice which I myself have been doing for past 10 years and getting the result of that. So you can see that the sound comes here in the consonantal group, ka, then you have kha, you have ga, then you have kha, then you have ma. So this is how the 5 groups are arranged. And all these groups, the different sounds, the positioning of that is based on the places where from they are articulated. So there are 5 distinct positions, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you recite it, you can see the sound shift from position number 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 in a very logical, methodical. And these are the possible positions within the mouth. You cannot have a 6th position to have a fundamental sound. There are spaces in between one sound and like ka and cha. So you can have so much space, but no speech sound can be produced from that space. So ka is not only, you cannot have a pure consonantal sound which can be produced from a position below than where from you say ka. So ka is not only the first consonantal sound of Sanskrit, but the first consonantal sound of the entire humanity. No human being is capable of producing a pure consonantal sound from a position below where from you say ka. This is the first position where you can obstruct the air to have a speech sound. So this is how the human mouth anatomy is designed. Now you see, there is a difference between ka and kha. So when you say ka, minimum air is released. That's why it's called alpa prana. And the same sound, when it is produced, when the maximum air is released, with maximum air release, it becomes Ka. This is Mahaprana. And again you have a Ga with Alpa Prana and Ga with Mahaprana. This play of Alpa Prana and Mahaprana, when you very consciously in a meditative mood, when you recite it, you can see that as if the language itself, the alphabet itself is breathing by releasing minimum and maximum air. This is what happens, that you are manipulating, not you are manipulating the breath to do pranayama. There is a natural manipulation of the breath producing the sound. So by releasing minimum. And when you say Ka with minimum release of air, so there is a sense of concentration, contraction. And when you say Ka, there is a relaxation, expansion, meditation. Again Ga, contraction, Ga, expansion. And then each group ends with a oronasal sound. There is no pure nasal sound in Sanskrit except Anuswar. Anuswar is the only pure nasal sound where the mouth is closed and the air releases only through the nostrils. And all the different sounds, the 5 different sounds you find at the end of the group, they are oronasal sounds, mukha nasika. So now I have checked it with many pranayama gurus. Is there any pranayama where you can manipulate the breath simultaneously, both through the mouth and the nostrils? No. It's extremely difficult. But you can achieve that by reciting the Anunasikas. Or by reciting, this is an experiment which I did on myself. And I'll tell you, I had a severe sinus problem. I couldn't swim. I couldn't speak properly. There was nasalization. I used to get headache. I couldn't run because it would create problem. I had breathing problem. But by merely reciting Panini's 5th Sutra of that Shiva Sutra, where he puts together all the oronasal sounds, Yamangananam. By repeating it again and again, I got rid of sinus. I didn't take any medicine. I didn't do any yoga or pranayama. Yamangananam, Yamangananam, Yamangananam. And how did it do, I don't know. I can't explain. I'm not a scientist from that point of view. But it helped me. And I'm sure it would help others. Because it has helped. I had a severe sinus problem. And this is what cured me. Because it manipulated the breath simultaneously in a very harmonious way, both through the mouth and the nostrils. So this is what I wanted to convey you, that how this very alphabet has an inbuilt system of a pranayama within it. Then you can do a lot of exercises with the vowels and consonants. Take all the vowels, and so you can repeat. So what abhyas that you can do with Sanskrit alphabet, you can simply recite all the short vowels, all the long vowels, attach the anuswara with all the vowels, im. So this becomes a practice and it has its own result. In addition to the result of pranayama, you have the effect of the vibration of the sounds also, which has a lot of impact. Then you can have, so for example, like anuswar, you can do all these things. And then the visarga, which is another important sound in Sanskrit. So visarga is usually articulated as aha or ihi, but that's not the right articulation of visarga. So another word which Panini uses for visarga is visarjana. Visarga and visarjana. So visarjana means to release, to throw, to give up. So visarga means like all the air that you have, you release it completely. So it's the most relaxing sound. Ah. When we are relaxed, we say ah. Oh, it's dawn. So with that, whatever sound comes out, whatever sound is created, that is the sound of visarga. And when you do the visarga, you can see this expansion, this relaxation, this sense of meditation. And also, like with the visarga, you can achieve the result of bahya kumbhaka. So ah, you hold the air outside. And this bahya kumbhaka, from the pranayama shastra point of view, is very good for focus, concentration, energizing that faculty within yourself. And if you make this practice of you can feel the relaxation, and at the same time you can get the benefit of, if any child, this is what I had experimented on my child. When she, at a certain period of time, she was little distracted, had very low attentive thing, that she couldn't attend, she couldn't focus on the thing. But 3 months I tried out this. articulation of visarga, and reciting certain mantras regularly. And within 3 months, I could achieve the result. It completely changed. And she realized that. And she said she doesn't stop doing prayers every day. At least 20 mantras she chants every day. Because she said that it has helped me getting rid of my excitement, which is my enemy, and it has helped me to be more concentrated. I'm not going to give it up. So this is how Sanskrit helps us in our day-to-day life. And especially when it is given to the children at the formative years, when they are growing. So it will help immensely to the children in their inner growth. Another thing, and you can practice all the Alpa Pranas together, Maha Pranas together, or mix them. And one more thing, this is what again I am saying, that when you have the positioning of the different mouth positions where from the sounds are produced, so you have Kantha, you have Talu, you have Jihva. So in that list, you have another word called Uras. Uras is one, Sthana. Uras is chest. But which sound comes from Uras? There is no Urasya Varna in the alphabet. But Urasya are combined sound. So when you go to Paniniya Shiksha, he says that Hakara Panchamir Yukta. So when you add Ha is joined with the 5th letter and then the Antasthas, so it becomes Urasya Varna. And this practice of Urasya Varna, it makes a natural Kapalabhati when you do it. These 7 sounds, say Na, Na, Ma, Ya, Ra, La, Va. And this is a practice which I have made and experimented, that if you do it, this whole set of 7 sounds, if you do it for say 20-25 times, you will start sweating. There's so much of energy, so much of exertion required for this, articulating these sounds. And if you do it consciously, it gives you the result of Kapalabhati, and it makes Kapalabhati in a very natural way. Okay. These are certain experiments which I did with the sounds, and this is what I wanted to share, that how language, the language itself, forget about all that it has contributed in the field of yoga or yogic psychology, or how it has helped the humanity through its concept of yoga, but the very language itself has got something within it which can give us the benefits of yoga. That's why I call Sanskrit as the language of yoga. So maybe with 1 or 2 more. The vibrational quality, sorry. This is again another, I am coming to another aspect of Sanskrit language. The musicality of it, the melody part of it, the harmony between the sounds, and what we call the chandas. The chandas, the language itself is chandas. The mantras, another name for mantras is chandas. So Panini uses this in a sutra, Chandasi Bahulam. Chandasi is in the Vedas. So the mantras are known as mantras, are riks, or Brahman, or the chandas. So what is chandas? When we teach chandas to our children in the classroom, or the way I was taught in the schools and colleges and universities, wherever there was a little bit of chandas. So chandas in Shardula Vikridita Vijay Chanda, this is the definition, and these are few examples. And which always irritated me. And I was very, very unhappy with the definitions, the way the teachers were teaching about the chandas. As if chandas is confined only to this poetry and few examples and few definitions. But chandas is so vast. Chandas is all pervading. Bhartrihari said, Chandobhya eva samakramidam vishwam vyavartata. The entire creation came out of chandas, lives in chandas, merges in chandas. But what is chandas? So chandas is not confined only to poetry. Chandas are all pervading. So for example, I would like to share another experience. I was in a very depressive mood, in a very dejected condition at a certain point of time for a few days. It was during that time I wanted to come out of my depression. And I was sitting in a garden and I saw a leaf falling from the tree. And that changed my whole mood. and I could discover the chandas. I could discover the chandas in it and the chandas of my life. It immediately connected me with something. It brought me out of my depression and rejection, and it gave me a greater understanding of what chandas is. I started feeling the chandas in my heartbeat. I started feeling the chandas in my pulse. I started feeling chandas everywhere, in the sea waves. I started feeling the chandas in the sculpture, in the dance, in music, in everything. So the purpose of the chandas is to make our life chandomaya, and it gave me the understanding of a great cosmic meter, the universal rhythmic movement. And it is this great cosmic meter which holds everything in the creation. When there is a collapse in that chandas, there is a disorder in that harmony, natural calamities take place at a cosmic level. When the same loss is there at an individual level, we fall sick. So remaining well is to tuning back ourselves to the chandas, to the music of our life, making our life chandomaya. These small patterns that you see in poetry, in dance, in sculpture, in painting, in the nature. So these are representatives of a great cosmic meter, and it is through these small patterns that you can grow conscious of that universal meter. This is the purpose of chandas. This is what I realized that day when I saw a leaf falling from the tree. What a beautiful experience. And always it happens. Anything happens in the nature, it happens in a very rhythmic way, very harmonious way. That is why you can see, as yoga has done, because yoga and Sanskrit, they are synonymous, and it was the contribution. Perhaps these two are the greatest contributions of our tradition to the entire humanity, yoga and Sanskrit. And you can see in the yoga, suppose you are using different yogasanas, the names are drawn from the nature. When you see the chandas, it's drawn, names of the chandas are drawn from the nature. It is as if someone, so when I have to talk about our knowledge system, today in our present day education system, in the mainstream education, intuition has no role. We have forgotten about that. You can't speak in the academic level about intuition. But the entire knowledge system, you go to Ayurveda, go to yoga, go to Sanskrit, go to any field, any branch of science, everything was discovered intuitively and developed logically. This was the foundational principle of our entire knowledge system, to discover intuitively and develop logically. It is not that we didn't have methodology, we didn't have logic, we didn't have proper way of presentation. Look at the way Ayurveda is presented, look at the way the contents were conveyed, look at the way Tantra Yukti that you find in different scriptures. So these chandas, as if when I contemplate on the names of different chandas, it is as if in some meditation, contemplation, someone is feeling the kind of rhythmic movement and he turns to the nature and finds the resemblance of that rhythm in some animal, in some movement. So he immediately recognizes it as a chandas and names it. I'll give you one example. Have you seen how does a snake move? You can say that it moves this way. How many times straight, how many times curved? We have not observed that. But look at the keen observation of the ancient Indian seers and sages who lived in the nature, who breathed in nature, who got the entire knowledge system from the nature. And we are completely cut off from the nature. I do the nature study through chandas with the young children. Make them aware of the nature, about the nature, many aspects of the nature through chandas. So a snake moves, this is what I have checked out with many snake experts, that it moves once straight and 2 times curved. Straight means short, curved means long. This is my nose and this is my nose. And this was felt maybe by someone and found the resemblance in the snake's movement and recognized it as a chanda, named it as a Bhujanga Prayatam. And in Bhujanga Prayatam you can find the arrangement of syllables, 1 short syllable followed by 2 long syllables. Natato, namata, nabandhur, nadata. So you can find in Bhujanga Prayata short syllable followed by 2 long syllables. Similarly, Shardula Vikriditam. Shardula Vikritam is tiger's play. When you see a tiger is attacking the prey, the very first movement is poised, he is very much poised, leaned back, and from there, when the prey comes nearer, so it takes a long leap followed by short leaps. And this is what is resembled in Shardula Vikritam meter. So it has got 19 syllables. And these 19 syllables, the first pause, harmonic pause, has to come on the 12th syllable. So from syllable number 1 to 12, you cannot take breath. Kasturi tilakam lalata patale vakshasthale kaustuva. So it goes straight and have a pause on the 12th syllable, then on the 17th. So 12 by 7 is the pause pattern. Shardula Vikritam. So this is how you can find the Chanda Shastras. A lot of things, and this way, like you start from 1, take a pause on 12, then again on 17th, it also does a kind of pranayama in you. So all the chandas, so I have taken up a project where I am dealing with the healing power of the chandas. So which chanda does which kind of pranayama? That's why you must have heard a lot of stories that Kavi Mayura got rid of leprosy by reciting Surya Sadaka. Written in Sraddhara meter, and Sraddhara is very, very powerful, which has got a pause pattern of 7, 7, 7, 21 syllables. So this way you can see that a lot of elements in the Sanskrit, whether you speak of the language, the chandas, the structure, the phonetics, the sound and sense relationship, everywhere you can find the same principles, the foundational principles on the basis of which this entire tradition was created. And everything has grown organically, like yoga grown organically, Sanskrit has grown organically. And you can find that for me, Sanskrit is yoga. So with this, I would like to end. The vibrational quality of Sanskrit has a direct impact on the functioning of the brain and can help in enhancing memory and the ability to concentrate. Moreover, it helps in the growth of consciousness, has immense power in bringing a greater transformation. Yoga is all about transformation. And then the transformational principles that you find in Sanskrit, how from a root sound, that root sound gets transformed into an expansive word. From chit, to be conscious, you get chetami, chetanam, chaitanya. This expansion and this transformation of the word chaitanya from chit, the whole principle of transformation is amazing. The rhythmic beauty and melody of this language, vibrational purity of its sounds, richness of its phonetic quality, transparency of its root sounds, and essences, richness of its vocabularies and content, all these have made Sanskrit truly great. The rishis of ancient time used Sanskrit as a tool for discovering the true nature of themselves, and all that they saw in and around them. Herein lies the sacredness of Sanskrit. It helps to discover the sacredness of life. It has tremendous potentiality to make us realize the divinity within us. It is in this sense that Sanskrit is Deva Bhasha, or divine language, or language of Buddhism. Punardarshan.
Dr. Balasubramanian will now give a brief gist of his observations. Only one.
Thank you very much for another very insightful and beautiful presentation. Could you just give us one example of how Sanskrit can help to clarify the mind? An example?
Yeah, see, one example I'll give you. So how it adds lots of clarity to the mental level of consciousness. Here, I'm taking just one aspect. So for example, you want to understand the word, any word in Sanskrit. I'm taking one example out of many, and one aspect, not one example, one aspect, that how the words, when you analyze, go to the deeper etymology, how they give you a lot of clarity. I take the word, Sanskrit word for doubt. When you say doubt, I have doubt. So what happens at that level in a state of doubt? Sanskrit uses the word, many words, out of many words I pick up sandeha. Sandeha is a word which means doubt. This word not only tells you that this is doubt, but it gives you clearly what happens at a doubtful state. When you say I'm doubtful, I doubt this person, I have doubt, I have no doubt, it's like that. So now Sandeha, if you analyze, some is the prefix. It has its own experience. Like in English, you say SUM, sum total. So Sanskrit sum is that, it refers to totality, perfection, togetherness, completeness. So sum, and the other word with which it is joined is deha. This is where the first doubt comes, like what the body has to do with doubt, because deha means body. Now here, you have to go deep to find out how the word deha came to mean body. Go back to the root sound, di is the root sound. Now each root sound has ranges of experiences. The primary experience of dihi is to gather, to collect. Now you see, Sanskrit can be understood, all the words, the different meanings of it, they can be understood by an experiential mode, experiential process. It cannot be understood just like that. When you look at the dictionary, you'll find the primary level, the first level of meaning is to gather, to pile. Say you all are sitting there, I'm here. We decided to gather something, say books or anything. Now, gathering leads you to the next level of experience. There can be ranges of ideas, but the most prominent idea which comes, growth. Because there is no book and we gathered, so from 1 it became 100. So the second level of meaning of dihi is to grow. So from gathering, it goes to growth. And where does growth lead to you? Say for example, you had a beautiful terrace from which you had a beautiful view of the sea. Suddenly a multi-storied building grew. What did it do? It blocked the view. So the third level of meaning leading from to growth leads you to obstruction, to covering. And this covering, the third level of meaning, became prominent in the case of deha, to cover. So deha can be interpreted that it is just a cover which conceals the soul within. You can also have the first level of meaning, gathering. We can say that body is called deha because it is a collection of different elements. Okay? But the third level of meaning, that it is a cover which conceals the soul in it. And you combine sandeha, perfect covering. What happens in a state of doubt is a clouding of the consciousness. When your consciousness is clouded, you don't see the reality. The reality is concealed from you. You are in a state of confusion. You don't see the reality clearly. But this, when you ask this question, this or that, I don't know. So confusion, groping in the darkness. Because it's a perfect clouding of your consciousness. So this way, when you analyze the amount of clarity, the way it helps the mind to understand the words. So this is just one aspect I am dealing with you, but there are hundreds and thousands of examples you can treat, or tens of different aspects that you can take from the language. So how it adds lots of clarity to the mental level of consciousness.
Dr. Balayogi, sir, we are very sorry, sir. Actually, we would have like to have a lengthier session, but the problem is girls need to go home. It's past 5 already. Sorry, sir. Please excuse me. Dr. Balayogi will give a very brief gist of the observations.
I don't want to take much of your time because I know it is too late, and as Dr. Bhavanani said, too much of anything, extremity is not yoga. So, my observation will confine only to some of the expressions given by Dr. Sadananda, because I happen to be a student of Sanskrit as well as a student of yoga for more than 3 decades, and so I would like to make some observations on some of his, if I may call in a yogic fraternity, some of the sweeping statements made by Dr. Sadananda, because you know, we may have differences of opinion, but yoga combines everything. So I would like to say very few things. For example, he says that there are all the words in Sanskrit can be derived. It is not so, because when you go to Sanskrit, there are 3 terms called yoga, rudi and yoga rudi. So rudi, sentence words are called conventional words. and there are derivatory words. There are some words like Kumuda, Kamala, Yatha, Tu. There are single syllable words and you have got Ekakshari Kosha. So there are so many words, hundreds and hundreds of words in Sanskrit which cannot be derived. So even in Sanskrit there are hundreds or thousands of words which cannot be derived in the conventional way. Therefore they are called Rudi Prayoga in Sanskrit literature. And for example, that's one more good thing which he said was about the Mantrik, talking about the Mantrik language. You see, it is known for it making everything into capsule. That is the purpose of the Vaiyakaranas, because they say Ardhamatram Putrotsavam Manyante Vaiyakaranah. If they are able to say even half a syllable, they think it is as if they are giving birth to a new child. Therefore, they want to be as precise as possible. Therefore, as he said, Alpaksharam, Asandikdham, all the definitions for Sutra literature is also given. But there are certain things, for example, when you pronounce, he was giving the Varnamala, all these things, you know. But there is a separate branch of study called Shiksha for it in the Vedangas, and they have very clearly given why it should be pronounced like this. One of the examples, or the prominent example that they give is, it is just like the tiger catching hold of its cub. If it catches too tightly, it will hurt the cub. But if it catches hold of the cub too loosely, it will fall. Therefore, ka has to be pronounced only as ka, ka has to be pronounced only as ka. And there are restrictions given that one should not, turn their head from this place to this place, and one should not cough, one should not breathe. All those things are there. But when we go to the root of the language itself, Vedic chanting, you will find a lot of yoga in it. I don't want to go into the details because we don't have the time. But I can give you one example that is very commonly said in the Shiksha Shastra Vedangas. This is, even the past that we give will change the meaning. So the common example that is given in all the Shiksha Shastra is Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. So a person was performing sacrifice and he said Indra Shatruhu, the enemy of Indra. He wanted to say Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. He said like this. So which meant, O Indra, O enemy, may you grow. Actually his intention was Indra Shatrur Vardhasva means Indra Shatruhu, the enemy of Indra should come from the sacrifice. But he gave a pass. Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. So Indra got all the power and he took all the powers of the Homa. This is what we have in English also, what we call the punctuation marks. Leave him not, hang him. So is it leave him, not hang him, or leave him, not hang him? So even the punctuation mark has got its own value in the languages. But only when we know the meaning, we understand the significance of each word. That's why even Patanjali says, Tad japaha tad artha bhavanam. So we have to know the meaning of the mantra and then meditate over the meaning of the mantras. But I can tell you confidently that there are so many words even in Vedas that they do not have any meaning. This was criticized by even Charvakas or materialistic school. For example, they say, Jatpari Turpari Ityado Panditanam Vachasputam. Because there is no meaning for such word Jatpari Turpari. It is only usages in Rigveda. So the Lokayakas criticize them. It's not as if all the words in Sanskrit they have meaning. Of course, each word may have so many meanings, but there are some words which cannot be meant or which cannot give any meaning at all. But the function of Amara Kosha, because Amara Simha belonged to the 5th century, so you can't find all the words. You can find only certain words which were prevalent during his time, and there have been so many like Medini Kosha, so many koshas, Hemachandra has written, so many koshas are there. So we have got a lot of literature on this, and much before Amara Kosha, we have got Yaska, 5th century BC. And much before him we have the Pratishakyas in the Vedic literature itself, which give the meaning of all these things. But I cannot also accept with the view that not all the words in Sanskrit or any word in Sanskrit cannot be translated. Some words, of course, we cannot give exact translation, but it is possible also. And we can take example from both the sides. But you see, there are some views that it is only Deva Bhasha, and also all the syllables in Sanskrit, they are pronounceable and they have got meanings and all these things. For example, it is not merely Deva Bhasha. If you read classical Sanskrit, especially the dramas like Prahasana and Bhana, you will find all the vulgar language that has been used in the society. So it is not as if Sanskrit is something sacred. Please don't be carried away that only those who know Sanskrit can practice yoga. It is not that. Yoga is something different. Anybody can practice yoga. That's why we find people from all over the world practicing. But you find Sanskrit has given way to even Kama Shastra. And there are so many literature that are available where you will find the literature we will find it very difficult to teach to the youngsters. And for example, the word yoga itself has got more than 25 meanings, including one meaning for thief. So yogi means Mayavi in Rigveda literature, the one who thieves. So that is also one meaning. Sanna. There are so many meanings for the word yoga, because yoga can be derived even according to Panini from through three roots. You do samyamane, you do yoga, and you do samadhau. So in which context? Vyasa uses in one context, Yajnavalkya uses in one context, Panini, Patanjali uses in another context. So we have to go to the root as he was telling very rightly, all these things. But we cannot say, sir, that only Sanskrit has got only the vowels and consonants. In Tamil also we have Uyirelithu and Meyyelithu. And also we have got Uyir Meyyelithu. So, yeah, foreign language. That's why we have to be clear when we define. So, in Indian languages, we have got one thing very precisely, that all the syllables that we write or we speak, they have got specific pronunciation, unlike the European languages. So, even in Tamil, we have got all these things. And Chandas also, it is derived from two roots. There are differences of opinion, whether it is Chadi Akladane or Chadi Avarane. Therefore, there is a lot of literature. When we read texts like Vritaratnakara or, for example, Vani Bhushana, many other texts, you will find mathematics is involved in Chandas also. But he was able to bring out the salient features of this language, and the time was not enough. Even to talk about yoga, there is no time. But it is good that we have to delve deep into this aspect of Sanskrit language and yoga. This will throw open more doors for all the scholars to peep deeper into this aspect. I thank Dr. Sampadananada for his inspiring lecture, and I thank you all for your participation. Thank
you. We request Dr. Balasubramaniam to present the memento and shawl to Dr. Sampadananada Mishra as a token of our respect and gratitude. Swaminathan, CEO of Krishnamacharya Mandiram, will honor the chairperson, Dr. Balasubramaniam. Thank you, sir. Definitely, I think a one-day seminar is not sufficient for the thoughts that have been thrown up during the sessions. It only tells us that we should have longer sessions. We'll definitely plan one, sir. Sorry that we had to cut it short today. Kindly excuse us. Now we move on to the valedictory part of the seminar. We request Dr. Vidran sir and Sri Madhav Nambiar sir to kindly take a seat on the dais. We have the feedback from the participants. Participants are requested to kindly take their seats. Lavanya, the Minister of the Academy of Human Excellence, MOP Vaishnav College for Women, will present the feedback from the students.
Hello everyone, the chief guests, the esteemed speakers, teachers and students. Today has been a very eventful day. From the array of beautiful speeches to the practical yoga sessions. I would like to thank all of the speakers for taking time off their schedule to grace us with their interesting and wonderful knowledge on yoga and all the numerous dimensions behind them, helping us become aware of the various aspects of yoga, the scientific, the cultural, the health, the historical, the practical, the educational, and a lot more aspects. As a person who did not have much knowledge about yoga, after today I have a better grasp of what yoga is. But most importantly, it has planted new ideas and thoughts in my mind that will spur me on to not stop thinking of yoga after today, but that will encourage me to learn more about it and help implement them in my life. And if I knew that our scriptures, from the Vedas to the Bhagavad Gita, had so much knowledge that would guide me and give me answers to the problems and thoughts I face in day-to-day life, I will definitely take more effort into reading them. Yoga has a very physical and fitness connotation to it. It helps you live a healthier and longer life. It does help you better your body. But what I also learned is that when you look through the small pinhole of yoga, it leads you to a whole new universe of energy that will help you discover and understand yourself and the world around you. Again, thank you everybody for being here.
Shri Madhavan sir, the participant of the day, will also give his feedback to the participant.
Seminars can be organized on a variety of topics with various speakers. But presentations put different speakers together. But today what I saw was all the presentations were in harmony together. So one more dimension of yoga is that seminars are also not only unique. I think we should have more seminars like this for a variety of varied age group and audience. I had a great time, and those who missed are quite unlucky. The presentations, the content are great. I hope we can get a copy of it. And someday go through it, it will have a wonderful impact on them. And I'm sure it will transfer.
Valedictory address by Chief Guest Shri Madhavananda, IAS, Trustee Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram.
Dr. Sridharan, Dr. Lata and friends. I can assure you I won't make a very long speech, but I must tell you that I am very happy that the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram and MOP Vaishnav College are getting together on this MOU, first of all, because it's extremely important that in the colleges yoga is taught, we learn this. Coming to myself, I have been associated with the Mandiram for more than 20-25 years as an IAS officer of this cadre, and 36 years of my service. I have faced a lot of stress in various jobs, and it's thanks to yoga, thanks to meditation, and thanks to this tradition that I have been able to enrich myself. So what I want to tell the students is that this is a great opportunity, and it's, I think, very far-sighted for the MOP college to have this MOU with the Yoga Mandiram, because this is a yoga school which goes steeped in tradition, it is steeped in research, and this is very important. So I think it will be very good for the teacher and the students to work closely with the Mandiram. Given my own example, because I think we all have a lot of stress in our lives, and as we say, you know, we have to think so much that the software is fine, but suddenly you find that the hardware, the body is gone. So unless we are able to do this equilibrium between the software and the hardware, like a computer, it will come crashing. So I think it's very important that we keep renewing ourselves with this yoga, and it's very, very important. And we've heard so many wonderful lectures today, so much of good teaching, that it was really a very enlightening experience. And I'm sure all of you will take back a lot of very good memories of a good day well spent. And I think the best part of these seminars and these kind of organizations and collaboration is the coming together of good people, the entire thing of satsang. And I would like to end by the Bhajagovindam thing of Shankaracharya, of satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischila-tattve jivan mukti. I think by good satsangs, we are free from desires, which gives us the kind of steadfastness and the steadiness to really reach liberation. I think that is the journey which all of us have to go on together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Swaminathan will present the shawl and memento to Dr. Sridharan to honor the chief guest. Vote of thanks by Dr. Jayaraman, convener of the seminar and head of the research department.
Yeah, I'm not here to make any speeches. I'll just honor our organizers who worked really hard to make this a successful event. So I request our managing trustee, Dr. Satish, to come on stage to firstly honor Dr. Pankaja.
Honestly, I have a bandwagon behind me, which needs to be honored.
Madam, come. Give you a big hand.
Same manner, I request managing trustee once again to honor our study director, Dr. Jayaraman. He is the front end from our side.
Dr. Jayaraman is a special person who has really organized this lot.
Ma'am, just one more. Not but not the least. So I would request Lavanya to come on stage. Because of course, everyone of our team deserves a bag and whatever the gift is. But anyway, we don't have those many bags. So at least. Please come on stage. The entire team's work was excellent, very coordinated and a very fruitful effort. And thank you so much. Please. On behalf of all of you students, Lavanya, please.
Thank you, girls. Thank you very much.
As I rightly said, entire team deserves some kind of a gift anyway. Lavanya will hopefully share this.
At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Madhavan Nambiar for his encouraging valedictory address. Thank you very much, sir. And now, I would like to, at the beginning, I would like to thank all the speakers, right from Dr. B.R. Sharma, Sridharan sir, our trustee, and Dr. Lata Satish, our managing trustee, Dr. Vinay Chandra, Dr. Anuradha, Dr. Bhavanani, he came all the way from Puducherry, and Dr. Sampadananada Mishra, and all the speakers who also doubled up as chairpersons, and also Dr. K.S. Balasubramaniam for gracing this occasion and guiding us all and presenting very enlightening views. Thank you all the speakers and chairpersons. And as in the Bhagavad Gita we say that Adhishthanam is very fundamental. The substratum or the basis for all the activity is very important for any activity to happen. The basis of this activity, that is this national seminar, is the coming together of the two organizations, that is MOP Vaishnav College and Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, and the two heads of the organization, that is Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan, Principal of MOP Vaishnav College, and Dr. Lata Satish, our Managing Trustee, Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, enthusiastically encouraged this healthy collaboration in organizing this seminar, and also signing the MOU. By the way, in this way, they have initiated an enduring relationship between both these organizations. I thank the heads of both these organizations, MOP and KOIM. Thank you. And thanks are due to Dr. Pankaja. Though she is very senior in age and experience to me, she worked shoulder to shoulder to make this event a success. Thank you, madam. And thank you to all the participants who sat through all these sessions very patiently, not only patiently but also engaged themselves in these activities by interaction. Thank you all the participants once again. And to the team of volunteers headed by Lavanya, the minister from the Academy of Human Excellence of MOP Vaishnava College, and Subhashri, the secretary of the Sanskrit club. Thanks are due to them. Thank you very much, Subhashri and Lavanya. And thank you to Mr. Swaminathan, the Chief Executive Officer of Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, who was behind the screen most of the time, but he gave unflinching administrative support, and he came many times with me to KYM for discussion and various organization related issues. And thank you very much, sir. And also to Mr. Rajendran and his admin team of KYM. Thank you, sir. And thanks also to the support staff of MOP Vaishnava College and the staff who helped in the audio visuals and other things, operating various instruments here. Thanks due to them. And Mr. Karunakaran, who was part of this in organizing this. Thank you. And thanks to the web streaming team from Swati Soft Solutions who helped in reaching the message of the seminar worldwide. Thank you. And thanks are due to both the print media and the electronic media for covering the seminar since 1 week. So various news items are appearing in regarding this seminar, and hopefully there will be some news items later will be published about this seminar. Thanks to the media and to the caterers, Arusuvai caterers who did a wonderful job, and above all to Lord Ganesha, who is the guardian deity of MOP Vaishnava College, and to our own Acharya, Sri Krishnamacharya, by whose grace a task of such a magnitude happened. And thank you one and all. Thank you very much. And with Shanti Mantra we end this seminar. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.